All right, folks, I have 7 o'clock Eastern time. I want to respect your time and go ahead and get started. So if you should be able right now to be able to see my computer screen and hear my voice. If you can see the PowerPoint screen and hear my voice, can you just give me a yes or a thumbs up in the chat box, please? All right, perfect. So if you have any questions or comments, put it in the chat box. This will be really short and sweet. What I try to do, especially when I've taught this class before, but it's been, man, it might have been a year and a half, 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago. Uh, Obviously, it's rigorous. There's a decent amount of work outside of class because we don't meet much. But I always try to go through all the expectations, wait a couple weeks, and then come back for that and review that culminating project. So that's basically what the plans are for today, is to give you the opportunity to ask any questions about any of the assignments, any of the expectations. And then lastly, I'm going to go over the kind of the culminating project in class. So, all right. So first, there you go. So first, I'm in Canvas here. I'm going to scroll down to the week that we're on. So this week, here in a couple of days on the 6th, you have your next discussion board, reading the article and providing a summary/reflection, 2 pages or more. Week 5, you have a discussion board. Week 6, you have a paper. And then week 7 is the overall assessment plan. So before I again, this will be a really short session. Today's more about you all. It's not about me or anything. It's to make sure you have clarity on everything. Prior to the week 7, do the few of you in attendance tonight, do you have any questions about any of the expectations? Do you have any questions about any of the remaining assignments? Any of that stuff? Obviously, I know on yours, you can't see week 5 and week 6 yet. If you look under week 5 on November the 6th, it'll open up. Week 6 on November the 13th, it'll open up. But any questions about any of the remaining assignments? If so, if you would put it in the chat box, so none from Tia. Okay, then I'm gonna jump right in. So what I did was last week, I opened up week 7 and you're able to see week 7. Hopefully you did as I asked and took a quick look through it already. But I want to preface 2 things before we look at it. One, when you're done developing and implementing your overall assessment plan, you need to, you're going to upload it into 2 spots. One, you're going to upload it here on Canvas. That's where I'm going to grade it for the points. Okay. Number 2, you need to upload it into LiveText. That is where it's kind of there for the program's purposes. So just making sure everybody familiar with LiveText. You can let me know real quick. You're familiar and able to access LiveText, okay? Okay, good. So in LiveText, there are 2 things. You'll submit the overall assessment plan. And then number 2, I can't remember if I said this on the first night, but you do not, the other one is the dispositions. You guys as students don't have to do anything there. I'll take care of that for you. It basically is just me documenting your dispositions, do you tend to display good ethics? Do you turn things in on time? Do just different stuff like that. If it was a huge issue, it won't be a surprise. I would address it with you. So if I've not addressed any of that stuff with you, then don't worry about it. You're fine. But so week 7, due on December the 1st. Let's see, that's December the 1st. Let's see what day of the week that is there. So I think if I remember right, it's a little bit of a different day of the week than, yeah, that's on a Sunday night. So a Sunday night, turn in your overall assessment plan into LiveText and in Canvas. All right, let's jump right in then. So I'm clicking on the overall assessment plan information. You're going to take this document, download it, and when you've completed everything, right below it's where you're going to upload it so I can score it. So the overall assessment plan, right? Don't overthink this. Whatever's in blue, leave in blue. Whatever you type in it, put in black. Answer the question right on this, download it. So when you download it, over here where it says overall assessment plan, you can click on that right there and download that Word document. Okay, this is something that you're going to need to start working on like now, pretty much. So part A, basically you're just describing what some of those, and everything you're doing here is of your current practice. Describe any pre-assessments that you use, describe some formative assessments, describe some summative assessments, and basically list those. Okay. Part B, again, I want to preface this. Don't reinvent something just for me. What I'm hopeful that you'll do between now and December 1st, and I understand this is it's a short 7.5-week class. You only have 3 or 4 weeks to implement it. But basically, the big picture of the fall is the following. Okay, try to in the next week pick a class, depending on what kind of grade level teacher you are. If you're a special ed teacher, give it to a small group. If you're an elementary teacher and you're self-contained, give it to your class, a pre-assessment. If you have a bunch of kids and they change classes, just pick one class. Provide the students a pre-assessment, provide the instruction over the next couple weeks, then give them the summative assessment, or probably better yet, the post-assessment. Okay? And that's what we're trying to do here is trying to go through this exercise. One, as part of good assessing anyway. But two, don't do something just for the class. Try to pick something that you would be teaching over the next couple weeks. Develop a pre-assessment before you teach it. Teach the content, then provide the post-assessment. After you've done that, go through all of these things and answer them and provide information. All right, so kind of this part one, the overall assessment plan, you're kind of talking big picture stuff. You're just describing some of the pre-assessments, formative assessments, some of the assessments that you do. Part B here, for examples, part A, choose one pre-assessment, one formative, and one assessment summative. These three should be intended for use in the same unit or lesson, and each clearly indicate how the assessment aligns with objectives. So here we're really wanting you to kind of break the assessment down and talk about this standard meets these questions and this standard meets these questions. Describe how technology, part D, will be used in assessing the learning and managing of the data. Part E, describe a process which involves colleagues and professional learning team environment where they analyze assessment. So basically go through, leave that Word document, leave everything, the question, everything in blue. You change the font and you put your answers in black, right on that same one. Part B then is when you're going to provide an analysis. All right, you're basically going to tell me, when did you give the pre-test, when did you give the post-test, tell me your name, tell me what it was about, and go through and answer all these. The biggest thing, folks, is we want you to provide a pre-test, provide some instruction, do some reflecting on what did and did not work, provide the information of the data from the post-test. Obviously, we hope to show, we would hope that after your instruction, you would see some gains in it. But the biggest thing is I feel like the process is more important than the final outcome on something like this. So go through, be as detailed as possible when you answer all these. All right, be honest on them, but be detailed, and just kind of go through and answer all these. All right, so you can tell in part C, you're going to actually, I don't need to know the students' names. All right, like it says in the left-hand column, there's student 1, student 2, but you're going to have to go through and to segregate that data. Did they, how'd they score? Were they above the class average? Were they below it? We really want you to break that down. This isn't a Dustin Broomball assignment. This is the program's assessment that's done here. I've went through this really quick, but what questions do you guys have? Again, I want to preface, don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. What it says on there is what we want. Put your answers in black so it stands out. Provide as much detail about as possible. But for me, the process of going through all these specifics is equally as important as the final outcome. Because remember, assessing is in my own words, you have clear objectives. All right, you for a formative assessment, you assess where they're at, and then you, based on that assessment, that formative assessment, that tells you if the instruction that was provided, not that you taught it, but that it was in fact learned. So if you didn't do it, if they didn't do well, it doesn't mean the instruction was awful. It means that that specific student maybe didn't glean much from that instruction type. In part A, we just describe assessments but not include actual assessments. Correct. Kelly, so we use the same assessment in part A and in part B, or we do different content in A and B? Okay, good question. The same one. I would give them the pre-test and the post-test be the same exact test. So hopefully, you don't already have a preconceived instruction that you are definitely going to give. You need to look at that pre-assessment and determine then what instruction needs to be provided. Just because a certain group of students, or let's say your whole class, does very good on question number one, does not mean that you won't cover it through your instruction. You just might be able to better allot your time in a more appropriate manner. All right. So use the data from the pre-assessment, provide instruction, provide a post-assessment. If I'm you, I provide some small formative assessments along the way. That way, even after a day or two, or even after that one lesson, you need to in fact test, did what I just taught, the instruction that was provided, was it in fact learned and was it retained? Then, keep your instruction going on, but try and keep the pre-test and the post-test the same. So we use the same, yeah, we've covered that. Good question. Now, after I've taught this class before, after I've went over this and people have started to implement it, it will be okay if you reach out to me again a week from now, a couple of days from now, 2 weeks from now, with some questions, some follow-up questions. So remember, my email address here is on the screen. If I need to set up a phone call with you, if I need to set up our own one-on-one Zoom meeting, I'm willing to do that. But I can't express enough. Download that document, keep the questions in blue, you answer in black, and whatever it asks, be as detailed as possible, but answer the question. If it asks for information, give the information. If it asks for the mean is the average. Add them up, divide by how many there are. If it asks for information, put the information. All right, but be as detailed as possible. All right. I didn't anticipate there being a ton of questions tonight on, the outline of the class. It seemed to be everybody's caught on pretty quick. Basically, you have a couple more discussion boards in a paper due this week and one due 2 weeks from now. I mean, we don't have a ton of time left in this class, so I understand and will fully grant you that this pre-test and post-test is going to be a short unit. For some of you, it might not even be a whole unit because units can be, there's no preconceived number of lessons or weeks a unit is, but try and sit down in the next couple of days, develop a pre-test, post-test, develop instruction in between there, and follow what you should for good assessment, providing feedback, checking for understanding along the way multiple times, and definitely reflect along the way. What questions did everybody else have? Okay. Again, I'm gonna stay behind if people have specific questions, but that was the intent for tonight. Just as I put on there, this is going to give students the opportunity to ask questions and to review the overall assessment plan. So if you feel like you're in a good place and you feel like you are fully understand the expectations moving forward for any of the remaining assignments and due dates and all and whatever it may be, if you feel like you're good to go, you're free to go. Otherwise, if anybody else has any questions, I'll stay behind. And again, if you have questions, reach out to me. We can set up a phone call, email, whatever works for you will work for me. Thank you.